authors, I'm Joanne Morrell, children's and young adult fiction writer and author of short non-fiction for authors. Thanks for joining me for the Hybrid Author podcast, sharing interviews from industry professionals to help you forge a career as a hybrid author, both independently and traditionally publishing your books. You can get the show notes for each episode and sign up for your free author pass over at the Hybrid Author website to discover your writing process, get tips on how to publish productively, and get comfortable promoting your books at www.hybridauthor.com.au. Let's crack on with the episode. Hello, authors! I hope you're all keeping well in whatever part of the world you reside and listen to the podcast in. Today's interview is with Calum Greenall, and we chat how creative writing balances out low energy from our responsibilities, aspirations to write a full-length manuscript and how to succeed in between life commitments, Calum's books and tips for authors trying to write in between raising a family, working in an emotionally draining job and juggling life's obligations. So in my author adventure this week, I am recording this in a car park in Margaret River in my car. So yeah, if you can hear traffic or birds or people or background noise, that's because I am on the road. And this is the day after that I have conducted my talk that was in Australand. So for anybody who's listening outside of Australia, Australand is in Western Australia and it's down south near Bunbury. And I'd never actually heard of it before, but so the talk that I was doing was roadblocks in writing, and that was loosely based on my author fears and how to overcome them book. Roadblocks being barriers that stop us from progressing in our author careers. And so the library was about 2-hour drive from where I live. Pretty straight, easy drive. I enjoyed the drive. I'm definitely someone who likes to crank up the music and hit the road. And it was pretty straightforward. And then I arrived in Australand, and it's a beautiful little town on an estuary, and checked into my accommodation, which I had booked, but that was about 6 minutes from the library on the same street. It was just a tourist park, nice little sort of cabiny thing that I had that overlooked a forest. And yeah, just started preparing for my talk. And definitely in the lead up to the talk, I have talking about roadblocks in writing. I get a bit nervous, but so what I do is write down the not roadblocks, but like author fears around the fears that I have that arise from going out and doing a talk. And so for me, that was, what if I go blank and forget what I'm talking about or look stupid? The usual stuff that always comes up in my head. I don't know if anybody else deals with that. And the way that I get through it is by writing all the fears out and then addressing them one by one. It's about acknowledging them, meeting them with logic. So will I go blank during the talk? There's every possibility. It does happen to me sometimes. But I actually talk a lot. This podcast has helped me just chat my little box off. And I think that even if I was to go blank, I would just call myself out on it. Oh, mind blank, and then move on. It doesn't matter. People don't care, Actually, and that really helped. And then in the travelling journey to there, I was just so excited. I was really excited to meet the librarians who kindly hosted me so this is for the 2024 Shire of Harvey Literacy Festival. And there was a lot of lovely big names, WA authors, some who've appeared in the podcast, I've mentioned in the past episodes, Sasha Wosley, Kylie Howarth, I think Christy Byrne was there today. They had David Wish-Wilson, who I haven't had on the podcast yet. And I think they had Sarah Foster today as well. But just great that they do this festival. I was just so honoured to be a part of it. So when I went to the library, I went obviously half an hour early to set up, and I had taken books with me and a stand and my Square reader and cash if people wanted to buy books, so I had that. When I rocked up to the library, they had, and I've seen this before, librarians do it obviously for visiting authors and guests and stuff, they make displays. And there was my picture, when I walked straight in. Beside their theme this year is called Imagine the Possibilities. It was on Discovery. So I think David Wish-Wilson's picture was above mine. He'd been there in the morning, and then there was mine, and they'd cut out some of the podcast episode icons and stuck them around, as well as my bio. So it's funny to see the pictures because I had blonde hair then. I've now got red hair. Yeah, anyways, the librarians were lovely, and they'd set some wine out and some cheese and food and things like that. And it was really relaxed and really casual. And I was grateful for that because I haven't really gone out and done many talks. And so it was quite intimate, less than 10 people there, which was great. We were able to have a chat rather than just me talking the whole time. It was about an hour. My voice is a tiny bit hoarse this morning, but I managed to get through the talk, and I think it was beneficial and helpful for people. It was lovely to meet some of the local artists and writers of the area and chat to them about their work, and obviously touch on roadblocks in writing. So yeah, it went really well, and I just loved, which helped, they had this chair. And if anybody watches Graham Norton, the host, the TV show host guy, and he's got one of these big chairs that swivels around, it was like that, but it had velvet on it, and I just loved sitting in it. I felt like I was a queen. But it helped to sit down rather than to stand, and it made it less informal, and no tech issues with just plugging my laptop in and it coming up. So that all went to plan. And yeah, and what else was wonderful was there was a lady there who listened to the podcast, and that just blew me away. It really did. That I was connecting with people. And for me, this is what it's all about. It's connecting with like-minded individuals, making those networking, connections just with other writers and whatever. That's what it was about for me. So all these fears that I originally had left me as soon as I went there, and I was not nervous at all. I really enjoyed it, and I just think that the passion for what I do and for the message that I was trying to deliver came through. And yeah, I hung around and had a glass of wine with them before packing up and heading back to the accommodation. And I'm now in Margaret River, which is about an hour and a half out from where I was. It's getting further away from where I live, to visit a friend for the weekend. Now I just thought she's not that far, so now I'm down this way. And I'm also going to visit a town that's another hour out from here tomorrow, because the young adult fiction book that I've started working on is loosely based on this town. It's going to be fictional, but I'm loosely sort of using that as a as a base. So I'm going to go and do book research. So exciting! And then I'll be heading back home on Sunday and getting back into the usual come Monday. So, I, especially around my talk, roadblocks in writing, you could think about whatever you're working on this week, or whatever some things in this authorship career that you're concerned about and think might hold you back. So for me, public speaking's always been a thing, but it just isn't anymore, because I've gone out and I've done it, and the feeling I got after it, I was so energized, and I just thought, this is me, this is exactly what I want to do. I want to have my car filled with books, and I would love to just be touring around the country, me driving my car and visiting libraries and chatting and meeting people who are writers and creatives, and this is definitely my calling, my career. But then, I was nervous about this. So imagine if I had let that roadblock, that fear, stop me from going ahead with doing this. I would not have the new experience I have today from last night of how good it was to draw upon. So consider that, and consider things that you might be scared about with this career, whether it be sharing your work or putting yourself out there, and write it down and meet it head on, and just know that you need to go on the other side of it. So get past that initial thought to experience what's on the other end of it, because it's more than you'll ever imagine. So if you love the podcast, or any of the episodes has helped you further in your author career, you can now pay it forward by buying me a coffee over at buymeacoffee.com/thehybridauthor. Let's all support each other. Calum Greenall is a mental health nurse and self-published author. His award-winning debut picture book, Sam's Stormy Night, is the first in a four-part series, with the second, Barry's Broken Dam, due for release later this year. Along with other self-publishing projects, Calum is also in the process of trying to secure a traditional published contract. Welcome to the Hybrid Author Podcast, Calum.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Oh, we're absolutely thrilled and honoured for you to join us today. So just, get stuck in. How did you come to join the writing and publishing world?
Stumbled upon it, really. We had our first child in 2019, and until then, come across picture books much since I was like reading them myself as a kid. And we obviously read it every night to him. Yeah, we just started reading so many, and I fell in love with them again until we got one that was not as good as the others, shall we say? And I think
way
we
of
got it
putting
from the
it.
library. Yeah, and like it didn't quite work as well. My wife walking past and saying, "Oh, geez, Cam, you could do better than that." Being a competitive, it's all it takes. And then I started having a go, and then obviously found out there's a reason it's a lot harder than it looks to write picture books. But I just kind of fell in love with it when I started doing it. Yeah, so I started in about 2019. Yeah, I started putting together what I could, and yeah, I've just found it so rewarding, such a nice escape, to do it. And since then, put together my own picture book, self-published that. Yeah, I'm going to make it part of the four-part series as well. Yeah, it's getting exciting.
Amazing. Well, I think we've all sort of come across a bad book before, haven't we? And just thought, what? Why? Come on.
Yeah, and it wasn't even bad. It wasn't even bad. It was like a rhyming one, and there was just one line in it that I popped out, and it took you out of the experience. You could tell, like even my son, who was like 3 at the time, he noticed, or 2 at the time, where it was. I was like, oh, okay, yeah. And then don't want to hate it because now I know it's really hard to do.
Yeah, that's it. Well, I think that's why they always say as well, to be a writer, you need to read, especially in the genre that you're going to write in, because like you said, you can learn from what to do, what not to do, what feels like it works and what kind of doesn't work.
Yeah.
But even just outside of writing, just anything that looks easy, I think, or just anything, I never say, I get that. I think behind every profession there is a sort of struggle or a hard work that you don't actually get to see.
Yeah, no one sees the hours of work before they read it. Yeah, exactly.
That's it. It's the same as like screenwriting and stuff. It sounds so glamorous, and you think, wow, but it's the same with any writing. There's that solitude where the person's just sitting, grafting, and probably tearing their hair out and grappling with their inner critic. No one sees that. They just see the finished product.
No, thankfully as well. No one wants to see everyone else's self-critic. You're the worst on your own. You don't need everyone else's as well.
That's it. I know. Oh goodness. Well, you are a hybrid author via your publishing endeavors. You're self-publishing under your imprint Bumblebrook Books, and you're also chasing a traditional publishing deal for your children's fiction. So did self-publishing just come first to you? You just thought, I'm going to give this a go myself. You didn't actually think about going for a traditional deal first off?
I did. That was like my first. Yeah, that was my first thought, and then it was just very naive. And then when I started looking into it, it was just so daunting. Like looking at statistics of like less than 1%, and where do you even start? How do you submit? How do you even get going with that? And it seemed like mysterious. Like it just seemed impossible, and also seemed kind of just insulting to think that I could do that straight away. You know what I mean? So came across this. I was talking to a friend about this story I've written, and she said she was part of this chat group with her work, and someone had been talking about this company that helps people self-publish. Was it? You can publish your own books. Is that what you can do? So when I started looking into that, it seemed like a really good feasible way of getting going. At that point as well, I wasn't like completely hooked. It wasn't like it was like, if this doesn't go any further, at least I've got something to show. But it'd be really cool to show like my son and family and friends and stuff. And then as the process went on, I realized I want to keep doing this. So, yeah,
amazing. Yeah, sounds like you've been, what they say, bitten with the bug.
Yeah, and I was really lucky as well that about 3 years before, 5 years before that, I'd reconnected with a mate and his wife, amazing illustrator. So her style was perfect for what I'd written as well. So I didn't have I was already kind of had this image of what it went to look like, and she was perfect fit as well.
Oh, that's great. No, that's awesome. And almost it sounds like from your story, like you sort of fell into it through that experience. But I'm a wee bit kooky and think, oh, it sounds like it's meant to be. You're on the right path.
Well, it kind of feels a bit. I've always been like a bit creative doing stuff, but yeah, I've definitely felt like there was a moment last year, so this was a few years past the book came out now. And I did a reading at my kids' school, so we went there for book week. I did the day there, like half an hour with each class, and it was just so much fun. I had such a great time
That's really cool.
getting all their feedback, and then yeah, it was really good. And the definite day there where I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. This is awesome. So yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed, keep judging and get some more out.
Yeah, no, that's great. Well, obviously, like you've mentioned, you are a father and you have your husband as well, and you're holding down a very rewarding but emotionally taxing job as a mental health nurse. Can you talk us through what a week in your life looks like and where you try to fit your writing into it? Because, you've got a lot going on.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, it can be tricky. So I'm a community mental health nurse, so based in one place, but we go out and see people all over the suburbs. So I work 9 to 5. So by the time like your one wakes up like half 5, but the brain's not going to be working then. I think I've figured out any time before I go to work, it's not going to be suitable for writing. I think my brain just works too logically at that time. It's just get this done, and it's not thinking creatively. So I've kind of written off any time before then is not going to be productive. And then get home, it's about 7:30 probably by the time kids are in bed. On a good day, if it's not being stressful, there's an opportunity there to do some writing. But I guess what I found is I tend to write more on my phone than I do a laptop or anything, just like a note, especially with picture books, kind of less, they're only like 500 words. So it's not a massive document that you need. And because I tend to do rhyming manuscripts as well, that you do just a couple of stanzas at a time, really you only need like a block of like 15 minutes. It took me a while to realize that you can still get a good amount done in 15 minutes, even if it's only like 2 stanzas. That's a good proportion of the book. If you're writing a whole book, that's like a whole chapter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a decent amount. So trying to find those little snippets. When I just had one kid, when Henry was in the bath, he would be there. He would be have his like, quiet time there. He would play him to his own little and play when he was old enough. So it'd be like 15 minutes there where before I'd just sit and scroll through reels. And I got to a point where I was like, you know what, 15 minutes is a real amount of time there where I can plot some stories out or just throw some ideas around or yeah, trying to find moments like that and not even just writing either. Like times that I would be scrolling Instagram or Facebook, trying to switch over to my author account. So I'm not just scrolling immature rubbish. It's like following different authors. Like here in Perth, we've got like people like James Foley's website has just got heaps of information and advice on it. Sean Avery, he's got loads on his Instagram account, has been really helpful, like just following those. So yeah, finding little windows. I think if I had to do like proper adult novels, it might be a bit harder, but trying
Mm.
to find those little snippets and down and taking advantage of like car journeys to work. It takes me half
Yeah.
an hour to get to work, feeling like in a good mood. I've got on a podcast about books like yours or other people's so just for trying to find this time to keep my mind thinking creatively and growing.
No, that's fantastic. And so do you feel like you're kind of strategic that way, that you're sort of just going on the go? You do it with your phone, but it's kind of as when inspiration strikes, or you just think, right, I've got, I'm on a lunch break, you open your notes and it's just constantly in your mind.
Yeah, I find that there's definitely parts where like something will just pop into my mind and I do need to like pull over the car and write that down before it goes
Yeah.
off. That's probably one of the best bits of advice I had. There was this in England, you got the BBC, everyone knows the BBC, yeah, and they did this course with Julia Donaldson, and I remember it was a really long video course, and she talked about all these things. But like the main thing that stuck out to me was she had this like A5 notepad that was just full of ideas that she'd never used. She was like, and every now and again, come back and put one out and start working with it. But you can guarantee the one that you don't write down is the one
Yeah.
could have been the best one. So always like try and do that. But I guess yeah, most of the time I've been presented with like a little window of time, and then I just need to kind of switch on. I find that if I get those in the afternoon, I can make something of them. I just feel like my mind is a bit more silly in the afternoon. like whether that's like because I've been working all morning and I just need an outlet for it. I think probably what it is. And I find to be a bit sneaky at work as well. If you have your phone, if you like doing
Yeah.
stuff on a computer, like people will look at you, but if you're just on your phone, you can kind of get away with a little 15 minutes. And then yeah, but I found I was getting a bit bogged down and trying to write, having to write something that was going to turn into something like a full manuscript. And really, it's good just to keep writing and practicing. And I mentioned before that on every full series of posts on Instagram about like, little bits of advice, and one of them that really stuck with me was trying to approach writing like an athlete would approach their sport, and just like they would train every single day or like 4 or 5 days a week, even if they only play once a week, they only play the gym, they're always training. Like, of course, that makes sense. Your brain's the same. You've got to keep training it and keep working it. So I kind of came up with these things I've just called ramble rhymes. I just put them out on Instagram. They're like 3-4 standards at a time, 2 or 3 times a week, and they're standalone nonsense, complete and utter nonsense. Doesn't make sense to anything else that I'm doing from there, and they may not be that good, but they rhyme, they fit in order, and it just keeps my mind trying to be creative, keep playing.
So it sounds like you like to be a bit silly and a bit playful and things like that. Because I was just thinking, you've got your job, which can probably be a bit emotionally draining some days, and then children as well. And I have some, so I know that sometimes your energy can be a bit low with obviously juggling all that. So is that how you find creative writing balances out that sort of low energy to give you energy? You just kind of playfully approach it that way. You be silly rather than, you were saying, like trying to tackle a bigger length manuscript kind of picks your head a bit.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Like I love my job. I really do. Like, but it is draining. Like helping people in the worst points of their lives. It does take its toll. So to have something that you can move to that is so especially if you're just writing a picture book about farts, it's so immature and so absurd. It's a brilliant release, and kind of I get really self-involved. That's not the right word. Like tunnel vision when I'm kind of writing these kind of things. So it really kind of takes all my attention away, which is good. But yeah, I think about it took a while to kind of figure that. There was definitely a phase I went through, like after my first self-published book had been out, like a year, I was like, I need to get published. I need to get published. And it was just this goal I had, but I just kept. It wasn't a good way to write. You just have to remind yourself that I'm writing because I enjoy writing, and that should be the thing. If you do that, then everything else will hopefully fall into place.
Yeah, that's it. I think a lot of people can forget that as well, because when you get crunched into the publishing mill and you get crunched out with lots of rejections and stuff, you can start to get really disheartened, and it is a tough game as well. That's why I love that we have so many options to be able to put our work out there, and that traditional path is just one of them, even though that a lot of people strive for that because of various reasons. But being able to do it yourself, there's an absolute joy in that as well, because at the end of the day, you, like you said, you've got something physical to hold in your hand, and you're able to share it with friends and family, and you get that positive kind of reinforcement and feedback with putting your own work out there. And then, like you said, keep going, and no one's going to achieve a traditional deal if they don't keep going. So
exactly. That's it seems so obvious, but like it's completely right. Like, if you think you're never going to achieve it and you stop, well, then you're definitely never going to achieve it.
Yeah, and I've spoken to many a publisher on this podcast, and they all say, and it's a message that I've heard a lot over the years as well. It doesn't, you don't have to take the rejections to heart. Sometimes they're just saying it's not their fit right now, and there's just so many different things that come into play. So it can be really difficult though in the beginning for people not to take it personally, because if they want it so bad. But no, hang in
I've
there.
had one come back recently and they said they loved it. It was great. They want to go with it, but they just needed to check if it fitted with the marketing part of the side. If they could do some research on the marketing side of it. And that one got me a bit hard. I was like, oh, you're so close. Like, you're saying you like it. Yeah, he's basically saying it's good enough, but they just need to figure out if it fits in with their marketing strategy for the year and what other things they're doing.
Amazing though. That's that's really positive. I feel for, I know a lot of people, that a friend of mine as well, they just kept getting to the acquisition stage and then getting knocked back. And I would think that would just be hell. I would rather probably not know that I'd gone to that stage. Maybe, or maybe not, but that feels like you're super close as well. So nah, congrats. That sounds like you're on your way. So that yeah, really good. So what are your aspirations to write a full-length manuscript? You know, do you think that would it still be in the children's fiction genre or like in adults or anything like that? Maybe about your job?
No, I don't think so. I think I'm definitely keeping it in children's genre. Yeah, I find like picture books, especially doing them rhyming. I find like it's just great being so creative and being able to get just really silly, absurd ideas out there, but linking them in a heartwarming way as well. And then once you've got all that big creative stuff done, then you can kind of start with a puzzle of making sure like it's the rhythm and the rhyming is all perfect as well. So I like both sides of that. Although recently I did have submitted one of my manuscripts to my critique group. One of them came back and said, "You thought about doing this as a chapter book, like a junior fiction chapter book? You know, the characters have got a lot more in there." I was like, you know what, I haven't at all, but I'll give it a go. And I had a little try it recently. I did find like the opposite. I just felt like it was so rewarding to be able to not have to be in those constraints of like 500 words and must be rhyming, and just go wild with some ideas. So I've had like an absolute blast. So I have kind of got a first draft of a chapter book that I'm hoping at some point can become something more. But I don't think I'll always come back to picture book.
Yeah, it's funny because everybody that I know in the children's, and myself included, so I started out writing YA fiction many years ago, and then slowly have started to come down the ladder into middle grade and then picture books and all that. And I think it was through reading, like yourself, reading a bunch of them when my kids were young, and you get used to the language or whatever, which sparks an idea. But everybody I know who's on picture books now are all starting to move up to junior fiction and moving up. So it's funny.
It seems that way. I think maybe like there's definitely been like I've been exposed to a lot more. My son keeps bringing them back from the library now with like Captain Underpants and Ninja and all those. And they're so hilarious to read compared to like the picture books that I've been reading for the past like 4 years. So maybe some of that sunk in. But yeah, there definitely does seem to be a shift going on towards chapter books and graphic novels away from picture books.
That's it. Well, it sounds like you've already got a first draft. So, because I was going to ask if you're going into the full length manuscripts, like a little bit longer than picture books, it's more of a word count. How have you succeeded in doing that between life commitments? Still just the same approach, just on the go, on your phone when you can?
Yeah, well, it had to be a little bit with the chapter book. It's sitting around 5,000 words. They were just too much to do on like notes and putting a word on your phone. Yeah, so that was a bit tricky. I did have some time off. We were on holiday, so I kind of did some work there. But yeah, I think if I was to go do more of that, I'd start saying to my work would be nice. Could have like just use like a half day of annual leave maybe here and there once a month or something. And I think then if I could go to the library and have like 2 hours solid time by myself, I could probably get a decent amount of work in. Because yeah.
And how do you meet your critique group, or is it online? How often is that?
I would like to. I only joined literally like 6 months ago. So I would say up until around 6 to 12 months ago, I've just been kind of doing like the writing equivalent of just doodling around. I feel like kind of just having a go at it, having a play at it. I would say in the past year, I've tried to turn a lot more focus onto it and be a bit more, I guess, professional about it. The way like I go around my social media, or the way I'm presenting myself, or the way I'm looking at it. I kind of had this shift of talking to people and thinking, if I'm trying to get us to be a published author, whether it's self-published or traditional, I kind of need to start acting like I believe I can, rather than kind of just playing into the imposter syndrome, going, "Well, I'll give it a go. We'll see what happens." Yeah. So I've been going to like the workshops that are on here. Like Larrikin House had some great ones last year, online workshops and pitch parties and stuff like that. And then join the Squibby and a couple of other things as well. So yeah, join the critique group was such a help to me. You've got like 5 or 6 people giving you feedback, who are all in the same boat, and way more helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just mean with the critique group as well, I know that can keep you accountable. So you've got to have something to share with them by this date, if that's the way you guys work. And sometimes that can work as a good tool to get you to make the time or the space to just get the words down as well.
Yeah, because you see people posting it every single month. It's like, I've got this
Mm.
because it's like, oh, okay, I need to start upping my game a bit.
Yeah. Oh no, it sounds like you're on your way. You're doing all the right things, and I love how you've said, you're thinking about it more professionally, which means trying to quieten that voice. And even now, honestly, that I have been doing this a very long time. I just finished a women's fiction project, and I think I've given it to my mum as well to read, and she finished it the other day. And the questions the things that came out of my mouth were like pinpointing, I guess, what I would be worried about the work, I suppose. And then she went off, and I went back through and said, do you know what? No. I said, the work is actually so good and I really loved it. I love the story. I love this and that. And I'm stopping talking this way now, like rather than go for all the insecurities first or, oh, do you think it was this or that? Just like, yeah, talk about the positives and the joys of it or whatever. Like it's that's what I'm trying to work on. So yeah, and to
Definitely.
look at it to think that is a professional attitude, own it.
Yeah, because I found with picture books, like I found it, I got to a phase where I just like was analyzing everything that I wrote as I was writing it, and then I was spending so long doing like one stanza that I was never getting anything done. So I had like a switch where I was like, you know what, even if it's not where I want it to be, I just need to get it all down, and then I can go back and go through it and kind of neaten it all up and make it. Because I was getting just, and then if I got halfway, I was starting to like fall out of love with the whatever story I was writing because it was getting so bogged down in tiny details. So that's been a bit of a shift as well. But I think that's where it came from for me. Was you always told you need to be more analytical about looking at your own manuscript. Then you spend months kind of rereading, rewriting, and like just picking them apart with all the tiny details.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you've got to present it and forget all that and not get bogged down in that as you're trying to get people's opinions of it.
Yeah, and I think we just need to realize that perfection is not a thing. We went to see Henry Winkler last night, the Fonz, at the Perth Concert Hall, and he had such a positive message about that, about the people sort of waiting for perfection or still working towards perfection are still doing that, whereas you just need to get yourself out there and put yourself out there and do the best you can, which was a message that I sort of took back, which was cool. Well, you've honestly shared so many tips already, Calum, and just wondering if you had any other advice to writers who are raising families, working in jobs that are taking a lot of their energy from them and just trying to juggle life commitments in general. It can be a struggle for some to find the time to write. Or do you have any other advice you want to share?
Yeah, just be kind to yourself. Like, not every single moment that you have spare has to be writing. Sometimes you just wind down and you need to watch some comedy or whatever it might be that you do to wind down. Don't feel guilty about not writing. Sometimes it's just as good to know when if you're gonna what you've got to write is going to be productive or not. If you're kind of 50-50, well, because you're really tired, you're probably not going to write anything you're going to use anyway. So just write it up and kind of survive the writing of the day.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic advice. I like that. And again, another thing that we can often forget is to have the downtime that is maybe out of the writing world, or being kind to ourselves definitely is a big one for sure. So no, thank you very much. So, and for your time, expertise, and the lot, Calum, can you tell our listeners where they can find your books and all the things you do online?
Yeah, so I've got Facebook and Instagram. It's calum.greenall. You can find my book Stormy Night on Amazon. The second book in that series will be coming out soon, probably the next couple of months. And I'm also working on another self-published book with somebody else, which is really exciting. I'm not asking any details at the moment, which is just but it's going to be really cool when it does come through. So yeah, give my Instagram mainly a follow, and then you'll find out.
Amazing. Well, thanks again, Calum. That was great.
Thank you. Cheers. Thanks for having me.
So there you have it, folks. The truly exceptional Calum Greenall, who has just released his new picture book, Barry's Broken Dam, and is launching it 7th of April at the State Library in Perth. So go check out everything Calum does online, and if you can make it to the launch, then go support local. Next time on the Hybrid Author podcast, it's a loner-sode from me, and I'll be chatting on creative freedom, or artistic freedom, is the ability to create without barriers, the fear of judgment or any preconceived ideas about the creative process and artistic rules. I wish you well in your author adventure this next week. That's it from me. Bye for now.
That's the end for now, authors. I hope you're further forward in your author adventure after listening, and I hope you'll listen next time. Remember to head on over to the Hybrid Author website at www.hybridauthor.com.au to get your free author pass. It's bye for now.